Matthew 2, 1-11. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Gathering together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. And they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah, for out of you shall come forth a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. The Herod secretly called the Magi and determined from them the exact time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search carefully for the child, and when you have found him, report to me, so that I too may come and worship him. After hearing the king, they went their way, and the star, which they had seen in the east, went on before them until it came and stood over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. After coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Very good, very good. All right, I'm going to invite the other team members that are with us to come on up this morning. Just a little insight, the context of that passage. If you'll remember, when Herod found out when the star appeared, he gave an edict that all the children 2 years and younger, all male children, should be put to death in Bethlehem. And so that lets you know, these guys didn't show up the night Jesus was born. He was about 2 years old. Come on up here. It won't bite you. Get up there. Get up there. You see this? Yeah. You see this blue line? All right. And we're okay. And Kayla, let's see how many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have 2 that are on the injured disabled list. But what I want to do is just let each member of the team take a couple of minutes and share what made this trip for them very special. If you are not aware, if you've not been with us enough to know what's going on, we just got back from a short-term mission trip in Costa Rica where we were serving in a children's home that rescues kids that have been, were rescued out of child trafficking. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that, of what they were rescued from. Most of you are aware of that. I can do that at a later date. But I just want to give each one a chance to share what was special for them about this trip. Who wants to go first? I see that hand.
I'll try, but I might start crying. So you have to bear with me. It's very hard to even talk about. The part that most amazed me, I guess, was we took those book bags and we filled them with clothes for the girls. One of the things that we did, we had 3 outfits in there for them. And the older girls usually get slighted a little bit because they're older. Everybody gives for the little kids. But the girls started crying. They never had a gift before at all. Not even from their parents. And they didn't know why we would even do that for them. You know, why? How could we love them like that, you know? But the other thing was, when we walked in the room the first day, one of them wanted me to sit right beside them. And these are girls from like 6 years old up to 12, I guess, something like that. And even the guys, they weren't sure how the guys were going to be accepted by the girls. We had to wait and let them come to us. But they grabbed the guys' hands as well. We went into the living room, they wanted them to sit by them. And the guys were just tremendous on how they played with the kids. The kids loved them to death because they could roughhouse with them a little bit. But it was just amazing. I can't even explain all the things that happened over there, but it was wonderful.
You're out. She did it.
You started it, right? It's just like what Carol.
Hold that up so the folks
Okay.
the folks in the back row can't hear, but like they're
There we go. It's just like Carol said. I mean, it was a very eye-opening experience. I mean, the day that we were there and we decorated the Christmas tree, the girls just loved it. They didn't have a Christmas tree, and they were making ornaments for it, and it was just very eye-opening to see how I don't know, like to describe how they, you know what I mean? They were so wonderful about the gifts. They just loved them. It was like they never received a gift like that before. And when we were leaving, a lot of the kids gave us the Christmas ornaments that they made. And, you know, it's just very, I mean, it was very eye-opening.
Yeah, well, I don't come this way. We're running out of cord.
Well, I guess it's my turn.
I guess it is, yeah.
I'll probably be like Carol here. Have a brief pause moments. Costa Rica. I guess the journey actually started before I went. And I came to church one morning, and there was Pastor with a picture of a little baby, Danny. Pretty much less than a year, probably 6 months old, just sitting, you know, beautiful. It's actually a video, and who was a child that was rescued, and my heart broke, and I decided to go on the trip. A little bit after that, I was having breakfast with Pastor. And this is after we had talked with Danny, and I was talking to Pastor about faith, and it's when you look at yourself and you look at others, sometimes you feel a little lower than you should be. Pastor was talking about, and I thought this was a great story about when Peter and the disciples were in the boat. And Peter saw Jesus walking on water, and Peter got out of the boat and was walking, and he had a little faith moment. He looked down and he started sinking. Jesus picked him up and put him back in the boat. Danny and Maureen, they're out of the boat, walking on water. And sometimes I take one foot out of the boat with the other foot firmly in. A lot of times I'm in the boat. Sometimes I go out of the boat, I get right back in. This was getting out of the boat, going to Costa Rica, even though we flew.
You don't get out of the plane.
I didn't get out of the plane. I sat right next to Pastor. He made sure I had my seatbelt on. It's not a flying moment, it's a walking on water moment.
He gave up the window seat so I could have it. So
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah. Actually, I was thinking water, but I didn't have anything to do with water when I was on the plane. So, but this was a moment where you're stepping out of the boat and doing something that you're not sure about what you can do, and what you can do for these kids. And you know, it's interesting in life. Oftentimes you think about what you can do for others, and then once you get there, they flip it on you, and it's what they do for you. You get out of the boat, and you realize that there's some kids that are already out of the boat, and they're just as much as we were giving to them, seeing their love in their eyes after everything that they've been through. you wouldn't believe it. I was hoping it wasn't all true. I was praying to God it wasn't all true. You know, it's easy to call them just girls, but then if you start calling them by their names, I don't know if we're allowed to do that in this or not, but you caught me.
No.
But they all have names, and I have them all in my head and my heart, and they come to you, and it was interesting. The first day, they're just all full of waiting there for us, all gathered at the front of the door. They have a beautiful house here. I say beautiful. It's not extravagant, but it's perfect for them. And they were waiting out at the front of the house, inside the gates. It's gated. There's a protective wall around to protect the kids. There's actually there was an electric fence around our house on top of our wall. I can't remember if it was on top of there, but they're protected. As soon as they open the gate, we get in and we greeted by all these kids. And the age range was age 3 through 12. And they're all there, and immediately they come to us, just wanting our attention. They had pictures. I have some pictures here that they brought to us. They just want to talk to us, and they're all speaking Spanish. And I had Spanish in high school many years ago, but God gave me enough understanding that I could talk with them in a very less than preschool sort of way, I'm sure. But they understood, and through that and charades, we were able to talk pretty well. And they all had such a story. And you know, when you saw them, 2 weeks, they were with Danny for Maureen for 2 weeks, right? Thereabouts, less than a month. And you look at them, and how loving the staff was. Each of them had God in their heart and had a faith that you just would not believe. All out in the water, all right. And I'm out in the water, but just barely at this point. And they're way out there in the deep end. I'm in the shallow. And the love that they showed them, and the kids, you would not believe. They were all so well behaved, sitting around the table, listening. Just so attentive and saying prayers, saying grace, singing. You wouldn't have guessed that they were just taken out of that horrific situation beyond all that you can't even imagine. Kayla was texting me, and we're all still trying to process all this. Someone asked her how the trip was, and she didn't know how to answer. And said, I don't either. It was a beautiful trip, yet it was, it was one of those things that you hope you didn't ever have to go through. Yet, so it's a mixed. The answer is not just one word. It's a lot of words. But the kids, they were just so eager to see us. They gave us pictures and wanted our attention all the time. Taking us around. They wanted to take us by the hand. They took us by the hand and showed us where we could sit while we had there was a big table where we all had dinner and we ate together after they said their prayers.
And rice.
Yeah. Arroz con frijoles is the rice and beans is the Costa Rican meal.
Yeah.
And I actually like it a lot. I think everyone else got tired of it, but even though I've been married for
Until today.
Yeah, until today. Over 25 years, I still kind of have a bachelor heart when it comes to eating, so I guess I appreciated the simplicity, yet it was, I don't know, I liked it a lot, so anyway, but I don't think everyone else got tired of it. But we ate together and we shared. It was really hard. I guess there's a lot of stuff I can't share. Wish Stephen were here. Stephen, all the troops here were they were just, it was just great to be with, and everyone in the team had such an important role in the whole thing. It was funny how it all worked out. Needless to say, mine was my goofiness. That was my strength, and the kids like that. I think Stephen had a little bit of that too. Stephen's a younger version of me with the goofiness. He had a lot more to offer besides that. Me, I'm not so sure. But we were giving them horseback rides. They jump on our backs, and we're giving them rides, and they want to do their cartwheels and somersaults, and so here I'm trying to do that, and they're laughing. Pastor gave
a few
one of the taller girls a horseback ride, and I was impressed. I offered to give him the small one that was on my back, but he manned up and gave her the ride. You might be, maybe that's what you're recovering from now. But like I said, they're just so full of life and wanting to do stuff and wanted to hang out with us. In the bathroom where we're at, there was a Bible verse on the mirror, and it was Matthew 5:16, and it said, "Make your light shines, so that others will see the good that you do, and they will give praise to your Father in heaven." And I thought that was pretty fitting. Pastor probably getting to the 23rd Psalm a little bit, but I thought that was fitting that in life you try to, a lot of times you share the gospel with others by showing your love and showing your love with others, and then that reflects on God. That's a reflection of who God is and how He wants us to show love. And so
I did mention a few minutes, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, keep them in my bag. I'll show you some of the ornaments. The kids made ornaments. I'll just show you how some of them looked. Yeah, sorry. I guess I'm getting a little bit like Pastor here. I had to get them back. So then we made these little ornaments here. My hands are shaking, so I'll try to hold it firm.
Not with the reindeer.
This is, a reindeer. And then,
Can you hold them up?
yeah, I'll let Carol do it.
Okay.
Well, maybe you want to get on my shoulders, Carol? But one of the things, a lot of things were mentioned. One last thing, I guess, is when one of the girls got sick, and the ambulance had to come and take her to the hospital. And they went with one of the people there, and we were all outside. And immediately when the girls saw that, they all started crying. It was immediate, just like that. I grabbed the two little ones in my arms, and everyone grabbed a girl, and we went over there. And we prayed as the ambulance went, and but I was so amazed that after such a short time that these girls were so connected, and they were so afraid of going back to where they were, and we had to reassure them that we're here, we're God's family. Todo está bien, everything's well, and that. It was really touching, and anyway, I guess I better give up my phone.
Give Ryan a turn. Ryan said, is there anything left?
So when this all started, I had no idea why I was going. My wife even asked me, she said, "What are you doing this for?" I said, "I had no idea." But something was telling me to go. And once we got there, the highlight, I guess, is what all became perfectly clear, was despite everything that these children had been through, we were actually in a place to make or break them. And what I mean by saying that is they have been exposed to so many people that they could not trust. So many people that exploited them for their bodies or whatever they could offer, except being a person. And so whether it was a man or a woman, we were on the front lines of, we could seal that trust to say, hey, you know what, there is some good in the world. There is men in the world that you can trust. There is women in the world that you can trust. And so I think the four guys that went especially had it on our back that they could see the love we had for them. We could accept their love, and all we wanted was to love them. We didn't want anything else out of them. And so I found out after a couple of days that was my purpose for going. That was their purpose, among other things, for going, was to show them that there is men in this world that know how to treat a person right and aren't looking to exploit them. We just want to love them and have fun with them. And we did a whole lot of fun, I can tell you that. Having all kinds of slap games and different things like that. And so that was the highlight for me, without going into a whole lot of that.
Remember the baby in the video, the 28-day-old? I got the whole. I gotta have help now. I'll get back, but that little girl looked at me. I'll never forget how she locked her eyes on me.
I got some real good pictures to show y'all one day.
Anyway, that was special.
So for me, I really had no clue why I was going on this trip. Quite honestly, I am a homebody. I've never been out of the country before, and I'm like, Jesus, what did I get myself into? Why did I say yes? But like I never, as soon as Danny said, we need to bring the stuff, I didn't have a second, like I didn't have a doubt about it. Like I had to go. Because my motto right now is, if not who, then you. So if not, like if who's gonna go? If I don't step up and go, I mean, if we didn't step up and go, who's gonna do it? So for me, God showed me that I can't step out of my comfort zone as long as I'm trusting Him. And like Pastor Allen said, what was that saying? As long as you're where God wants you to be,
You're invincible.
You're invincible, or so I mean, it was like super way far out of my comfort zone. I wasn't with the kids quite as much. I was mostly with like the staff and Danny's wife and Lauren. So I wasn't with the kids quite as much. I'm not as much of a kid person as the rest of these are. And Marge and I will tell you, we give props to anybody who does childcare. Tara, the whole time we're looking at Tara, we're like, how do you do this on a daily basis? Like, there was 11 girls there, but I couldn't even imagine, Danny's goal is to have 65 or more. And I look at it for, coming back, I'm like, okay, what can I do for you, Danny? And he's like, the main thing that I want to try to do for him is spread the word, because right now they have children waiting to come. There are children waiting. They've already been cleared. They're ready to come. But Danny has to have monthly funding. So one-time gifts are great, like we gave him, someone donated $1,000 when he was here and all that. That's great because they have kids that need surgeries and all this stuff. But for the government there, he has to show that he has a monthly income coming in for the kids. And right now his expenses are $30,000 a month. So he needs 1,000 people to give $50 a month. And then he can get all the kids there that he needs to get there.
And there are 80 that have been rescued
Yeah.
so far.
Yep, 80 that have been rescued. So I need you to keep that in your prayers. There's a very pressing matter of one of the children there that is about to age out of what they can handle there right now. So they need funding, they need help. And if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to get in touch with me, Pastor Allen. It's on our website. I've been posting about it on Facebook. Tell people, tell your friends, let them know that this is a worthy cause, and if they have any questions, to come to us and just ask. We'll tell them anything they need to know. Danny's very transparent. There's just a lot of things we can't say online or on the camera. So, yes, Joey.
So I don't mean this in a bad way, but I want you to explain how your emotions got tied up if they were all your puppies.
Yeah, so here's one thing that I told Lauren when we were there. We were out shopping, getting some stuff for the house, some building supplies and whatever, to do some repairs. and I saw a sign on the register, and it was about like save the turtles or save the planet or whatever. And I said to Lauren, I said, oh, so they're just like America, save everything but the babies. So, I mean, that's just how it is in our world right now. Save everything but the babies, save the animals, save the dogs, save whatever. But, you know, we can kill babies. Thankfully, Roe versus Wade was overturned, but, you know, we still have issues to work out. So, I mean, also, so one of the things that struck me too was Danny said that, you know, God said to him, there's all these kids out there. What if this was your daughter or your daughter or your daughter? What would you do? And he's like, I would give anything. I would give anything. And God said, these are my children. I need you to go and do this. If not who, then you. So that's what I got.
What
Thank
happens after they get to be
Right.
older?
When they
Do they
turn
stay?
18, they stay. They stay until they are educated with a degree and placed in a job.
Okay.
Because, if you understand what happens when you get conditioned, when you get conditioned in a lifestyle, it's the only thing you know. One of the big issues of recidivism with drug addiction, alcoholism, is that people revert back to what they know when trouble comes. When these kids turn 18, if they're placed outside of this home, immediately the cartels are going to be waiting for them and drawing them back into this culture, telling, what do you think you're going to do? And so Danny's dream and hope is to keep these kids until they can get a degree and be placed in a career where they don't ever have to turn back to something like this to survive in the world. Costa Rica is a gorgeous place. It's one of the safest places in Central America, and it is one of the most prosperous parts of Central America. But it's like in any major city in America, there are parts of cities where if you know where you are, you don't go there. And that's where the cartels have their power. They also have power within the government. Very much like organized crime here, there are politicians who are owned by the cartels and do what the cartels tell them to. That's the dark side. But what I really want to share with you today, and we have shared over the weeks, and months as we prepared for this, the horror stories. And I'm not going to be telling the horror stories today. What I want to tell you is that I have had a fair amount of experience in human nature, studying, observing from both the world of academics and through the scriptures. Yeah, you guys can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. I want to tell you something. Every one of these folks were an essential part of the team that God knit together. And I want to tell you, I thank each and every one of them. They are as just like my own children, except for Carol. It works the other way. I'm kind of hurt a little way. I said, all right, I got to watch it out. But what I want to share with you is the joy of what we saw. If you are familiar with what trauma can do to an individual, trauma it does change your life. One of the interesting things that when Danny is a man chosen by God for this, I've got to know him well enough over the past year and a half where I can clearly see God's hand on him. I shared down there that at this point I can see into Danny's heart and he can see into mine. That's what happens when you enter into a relationship with Jesus Christ and he allows you to see inside the heart of other people. Danny is chosen by God for this ministry. when someone has been traumatized, it is life-changing. And I'm not an expert in psychology. I've done my fair share of classes and in psychology, sociology, biblical counseling, and a lot of that. And I've had quite a few years of practical practice of walking with folks through all kinds of things. I'm going to tell you something. For those kids to be where they are right now today, and I'm not just talking about the location, I'm talking about where they are with the healing that I saw in those girls, is nothing short of a miracle of God. Anybody that studies this, I will tell you, it's not going to happen this quick. And I'm not saying that there's no problems with them, that they don't have issues, they do. But the level of healing, of emotion that I saw in those kids was nothing short of miraculous. And I speak from a measure of experience. I've been a counselor with Delaware Volunteer Firefighters Association for over 20 years, dealing with post-traumatic stress. And what I saw in those kids just floored me. I've never seen anything like that before when it comes to healing of trauma. They are going to deal with this, but what God has done, He's stepped into the midst of that with them, with the peace of God that passes understanding. And one other thing I want to share with you is last Sunday morning, about this time, those girls had their very first church service ever. And I got to be the one to share the gospel with them for the first time ever. I'm so unworthy of that. And yet God let me be the one to share the love of Christ with them for the very first time. And when we were there years ago, remember the 23rd Psalm? And I said I couldn't figure out why that I kept coming up against the 23rd Psalm. I don't mean to guess it, but I kept seeing it. It was in the Daily Bread. It was on the side of a church. And I'm thinking, what is this all about? The Wednesday before we left last week, do you know what the Daily Bread reading was? The 23rd Psalm. I'm starting to catch that there's a theme going on here. And when we got down there was a little banner in the dining room where we all gathered for our meal. And guess what was on that? And guess what I preached about last Sunday morning? It was awesome. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. I saw the restoration of souls in those kids that I got a chance to share with them. That the shepherd is Jesus Christ. And that name, Jesus Christ, means God saves. And I got to share with them that Jesus Christ invites them to let Him be their Lord and Savior. It was an awesome, awesome privilege of which none of us felt worthy of. But what I shared with you today about the gifts that the wise men brought to Jesus, there have been a lot of things written about those gifts. Why did they bring gold, myrrh, frankincense? Somebody once said if it had been women instead of men, they would have brought a casserole, extra diapers. And it would have been a different story. Why did they bring what they brought? Well, I'm going to leave the reasoning why to you and to what you've heard and what you may read. But there's a little song about the little drummer boy who came and he didn't have anything to give except a talent, and that was to play his drum. And he gave that to Jesus. What would you have brought to Him? he said, as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. I'm going to tell you what, there's not a prouder pastor in this world than I am of you. Each and every one of you that prayed, gave, encouraged, and saw to it that we could go, because what we took was what you gave. And what you gave was gifts to little sheep that God has snatched out of the gates of hell. Literally. And you showed Jesus Christ to them. You did that, each and every one of you. The fact that we were the ones on the plane just means somebody had to do that. But we would have gone empty-handed without your gifts. And we would have gone powerless without your prayers because of you. And the folks down there, those kids, you made a difference in their lives. Each and every one of you did. And as you gave to them, you gave to Jesus Christ. Do you really think he needs your gold? Do you think he needs perfume? It's all his anyway. You gave him something of greater value than those wise men ever did. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you. I'm so thankful because of the difference you made in their lives. The folks there, they told us, they said, we've had teams, they haven't had teams with the children because that's only been a matter of weeks. And one thing is, there were only 11 because the government is cracking down. There are those within the government that are being controlled by the cartels, and they are creating problems. And so until they can demonstrate on the books that they have the funding, they're going to limit how many of these kids they can have. But as the funding comes in, that's going to change when the money is there. They're no longer going to be able to do that, and God's going to do that. But I just wanted you to know that all the teams that have come before in the preparation of what's going on, they said there had never been a church so loving and generous as this church. And I just want to say thank you. When Pastor Dukes passed away at his funeral, I heard a song for the first time. And it was a song, thank you for giving to the Lord. And that's what I want to say to you. Thank you for giving to the Lord. Thank you for giving your hearts, giving your finances, giving your prayer because of what you did. God's changing lives down there. And you know what? He's changing them right here in this room today, too. Let's look to the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, you're an awesome, mighty God. And Lord, if you can use us, you can use anybody in the world. I thank you for each member of the team. I thank you for each member of this church, each person that is, whether a member or not, that are part of this church. I thank you for those who supported this ministry. Folks, we don't even know their names. I thank you, Lord, for each member of that team there in Costa Rica that you have assembled that is so good. I thank you for each of those beautiful faces, for their hearts. And I pray, God, that you would continue to heal not only the trauma, but God, that you would show them the power of the resurrected Christ for eternal life. Father, we thank and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. We are going to